All right, so the next thing that I'm going to look at, we'll move on. So I don't know if I caused this pump or not, but it was a decent little pump in XUSD. And the beauty of XUSD is, I mean, this is on the 3-day. If we look at it on the daily, I mean, it was a decent little pump. I think it pumped like 60% from the video. I think it was up here and it pumped like 60% or 50%. So yeah, congratulations if you're in profit. But one thing that I would say to look out for with XUSD is really familiarize yourself with the website. I would strongly recommend familiarizing yourself with the website. Familiarizing yourself, for example, with the docs. The docs are still being, like, they've been updated, but I believe the website portion of the docs hasn't been updated yet. But again, if you're like me, where you learn in stages, I mean, I've read the old doc and I want to read the new one, which is just going to be an updated version of it. So I would definitely recommend just going through, at the very least, looking at, say, like the vibe pass, looking at the concept of vibes. So just having a good overview of what the vibes are. And as a holder, it benefits you to hold and not sell. So basically, the only thing that kind of confuses me about the vibes is basically, so if you earn good vibes, your vibratile credit decreases. So good vibes decreases your vibratile credit rate. Bad vibes increases your vibratile credit rate. So you want to keep your credit rate low. So basically, buying will give you good vibes, but selling will give you bad vibes. So if you want to look at this as a long-term thing, and if you want to look at this in the sense of liquidity providing, where you can also get good vibes from that, yes, take your profits, do all of that stuff, trade, do what you want. But I'm just saying, this is an interesting feature about XUSD, the integration of the way that the community interacts with the token. And for me, the most beautiful thing about it, I mean, so you can buy the Vibe Pass. The Vibe Pass is a lot cheaper than from the Telegram. I was expecting it to be like really expensive, but it's basically just like a couple of $100. You got to spend one swap on it. So yeah, 224 one swap. So it's probably like 200 to 300 USD, which is not that much. And then you're getting rewards by staking, and you're getting rewards by basically following along with the protocol. But keep in mind that we are in the Genesis stage. So they've changed all the naming now, but it's in the Genesis stage. So I want to just go over this stage so people are very familiar with the stage that we're at. So if it does, yeah, of course, the price has gone up. The price has gone up because the market's gone up as well, because it's liquidity bonded with a lot of other assets, and also because of buyer pressure. But because of the stage that we're in, it's really good to be aware that the Genesis phase, so the Genesis phase is all about disbursement. So the Genesis staking, so 1/8 of XUSD disbursement, so eligible tokens for staking. So if you're staked in these particular things, and I wonder if this is updated or if this is old, because I do know eligible tokens for staking. I know that, like, for example, their LP staking, they actually have more here. So maybe, I don't know if it doesn't apply to all of them, but I'm quite sure that it applies to all of them, but just they all haven't been put in here, for example, possibly. So, yeah, because I think there's a few more. So I know maybe, did I see Wrap Bitcoin there? Yeah, see, I don't see Wrap Bitcoin there. So I'm going to have to ask the team on that one. Maybe Wrap Bitcoin doesn't give you the rewards, for example. So I'll double check that. But I don't know if it's maybe just because Wrap Bitcoin has been added and then it doesn't give you. So basically, if you're in these pools, you're in this disbursement phase, 1/8 of the disbursement goes to you in that liquidity pool. So that's good to know. So if you have a pool with, say, Pulse and X, then you're going to get extra X in that liquidity pool. And then so you just follow the staking. So you purchase the tokens, and then you approve the contract, stake your tokens, deposit the selected tokens to begin earning XUSD rewards, and then earn XUSD, accumulate XUSD as rewards are distributed over time. So this is in the Genesis phase. So this is actually really probably the time where you would least want to sell and most want to stake. But then also, as you stake, you really have to take into account, obviously, I mean, if I look at, let's look at the ratio, for example, of XUSD to Pt I. So it's done some wild swings. So XUSD to Pt I. So as this loads up, I just hope it doesn't wreck like yesterday. And actually, I might keep this on USD, but obviously, as soon as I start streaming, everything just really starts to go slow. All right, so I'll put this back on USD because, okay, so first things first, this is a vibratile asset that is potentially headed, well, I mean, its target is $1. So it will get there. It will get there through the mechanisms of burning. It will get there. So the way that it's been calculated with the distribution, eventually it will get there over time. Yes, it's going to have sell pressure and it's going to drop and all these kinds of things through liquidity bonding, through the mechanism of the token. It will get to this $1. Certainly that's Surfacing's conviction. So it's not aimed to stay at $1 like, where's the one? Why is that? Oh, because it's in market cap. It's not. Its goal is not to stay fixed at $1 as a stable coin. So a stable coin's goal is to stay stable, right? So it wants to stay at $1 and not move from $1. This is different. So this is different because let's make this a purple because it's going to end up being like a feature line rather than a fixed line. And let's thicken this up a little. So once it gets there, its objective is, this for me is where it's going to be very, very, very interesting. And this is where my love first came from. Because as you know, I'm big into liquidity providing. I love the concept of liquidity providing. Don't have to think, just leave it there. And especially with the stablecoin narrative, liquidity providing for the stablecoin narrative and basically skipping tax. If these things do stay at $1, and somehow it all pegs, then it's like amazing. I don't have to pay tax because I don't have to sell the principal asset. I can just live off the yield or create the life that I want from the yield. That's my goal. So now the objective of XUSD is eventually, let's say, all right, maybe this is kind of good here. So yeah, maybe May, June, maybe whatever, whenever it gets there. So it gets there, but then it's going to fluctuate. It's going to fluctuate. So it's a vibratile asset. It's not designed to stay at a fixed peg. It's not the way that it's designed. It's designed to fluctuate. And so as it fluctuates, you'll be able to burn it or sell it, burn it. I think maybe not burn it, but basically mint it and sell it and buy it. So it's fluctuating here. Now, if you think about this as something where basically you could just basically play this chart. If you have a position in, say, Pt I and XUSD, and you add to that liquidity, your Pt I, this asset here, this vibratile asset is going to help. It's going to help Pt I maintain the peg, because if they're bonded together, as Pt I shifts out of peg, then XUSD is going to maybe go in the opposite direction to help drag it back up. That's how I'm thinking that they're basically going to work. So Pt I is $1 and this is going to fluctuate around it. So that also represents opportunities where you can continue to grow your XUSD bag. So for example, if it gets down to like 90 cents, I don't think it's going to fluctuate this much. I think it's just probably going to fluctuate maybe 10%. So if it gets down to like 90 cents, or if it gets up to like $1.10, so then if it gets up to $1.10, you might buy it. You might sell it. Or if it gets down and then it gets down to 90 cents, you might buy it. And as you do this, the selling and the buying, and then continuously re-adding into the staking pool, then swapping that for Pt I, and then just keep growing your Pt I bag like this, and just keep adding to your liquidity, adding to your liquidity, adding to your liquidity, without really having to pay too much attention to anything except for this one chart. That's what I love about this. That's why I'm so mega bullish on XUSD. As a concept, I love it. But again, just to go over these docs, we are in this genesis stage where it's distributing. So what happens when it's distributing? It's inflating. So what happens when it's inflating? The price is dropping. So those are the things that you just need to be made aware of. So then we encourage the community leaders to submit a community wallet, which can be whitelisted to create LP tokens paired with XUSD. So I need to write this down actually, because I need to find out if it's all XUSD token, if the docs show all XUSD or not, because it might have been at the time of writing that doc, or it might just be literally just those pairs. Because then if it is literally just those pairs, then it would be a very good idea to be in those pairs. But again, really pay attention to impermanent loss. So, I mean, I think doing it with Pt I is a really, really, really good idea. But obviously this is a lot cheaper than PDI at the moment. So you're going to end up losing, if you put this in a pool and they both get to $1, you're going to lose some XUSD, but gain more PDI. But it might not be like in equal proportion. So you might think like if you add the token numbers up. So for example, let's just say, so first of all, let me just bring up the PDI chart because I'll show you what it did do. And I think I would take this very much with a grain of salt, because I really feel like possibly this had a lot to do with just establishing XUSD as a token and establishing the liquidity pools. I wouldn't look at this and go, oh, this is going to happen again. But I'll just show you. So, I mean, look at this. So this is XUSD to PDI. I've got to double check. Yeah, so it's XUSD to PDI. So in other words, at the moment, you could swap one PDI and you're basically getting 5 XUSD. Up here, you'd be able to like, you'd swap one XUSD, you'd sell one XUSD, you'd swap one XUSD for 4 PDI. That's amazing. If it gets above I mean, eventually you would expect that it's going to basically be around this 1-to-1. I don't expect it to do this kind of like crazy stuff that it did before. I feel like that was probably a lot to do with how it established itself as a token and established the liquidity pools and the ratios. So I wouldn't expect it to do that, but you just never know. So this also might be a chart to look at, especially if you're deep into XUSD as like a ratio swap. If you like the P stables narrative, you might go, you know what, I'm going to swap or maybe a percentage of my PDI into XUSD because it's a lot better. And my expectation is eventually they're both going to get to $1. I'm betting that they're both going to get to $1. Then I've just made 5x on my PDI. But then instead of swapping it all back into PDI, you might only just swap half of it back into PDI, create a liquidity pool, and then you've got double your bag. So let's just do the math on that so it's very clear in your mind. So I'll just use very, very simple. I'll just do 100,000. So if I had 100,000 PDI, and obviously this is not exact. Oh, well, this is 2.4. So basically it's going to be more like you would get. So it's more like 4. You'd get, so yeah, 25%. So you get 400 tokens. So let's just say you've got 100 PDI, 100,000 PDI, and then you swap that for 400,000 XUSD. And then when it gets back to this 1-to-1, so I'll draw this little, God bless you, Somi. God bless you, Somi, in all your lessons. He is seriously a national treasure. He's an Australian national treasure. So then you could swap this back for, maybe you could swap half. You could just swap half and half. So then half of your XUSD back into PDI. And now you've got a sweet liquidity position where you've got 4 times more tokens. You've got double your PDI, plus you've got double that amount on the opposite side. And then you can create a liquidity pool position when it gets 1-to-1. If it ends up getting at 1-to-1 any time between now and when and if these do peg, it also could be a good idea to bang. That's when you create a liquidity pool, because then when you create the liquidity pool at this point, let's just say April, let's just say, just for argument's sake, actually, because I like everything to be nice and neat, so I'm going to get a circle. So let's say May next year, everything pegs. Let's just say, right? But between now and then, it pegged here momentarily, and then it came back down, and PDI ended up grabbing all the narrative, and it came all the way back down here, and then comes back up here, and they're both pegged, right? So if it does do this at this particular point, that's a great time to create a liquidity pool, because as all this yield, like you're going to be getting all this yield as it's selling down, and people are swapping for XUSD. So then by the time it gets back to over here, you might end up having like 250,000 of each. And because it's at the 1-to-1, it's easy for your mind to track how the ratios work, and how it's also like, if you believe in the pegging narrative, then it's a really safe a safe liquidity pool, in my opinion. So yeah, I love XUSD. I love the concept of it, but know the risks of it as well. There is FUD around it. There is, like, you know, there was, I think people saying the team has too many tokens. So have a look at the holding patterns. Go on the Block Explorer, look at the holding patterns, see if you're comfortable with that. But I'm very comfortable with the team. I don't think that they're like going to be dumping it and hurting the price. I think they want it to be $1, and I think them having a big chunk of the supply and basically being able to support when it does get to this 1-to-1, they're the type you want. They're the people that you want to be supporting the ecosystem at this point. You don't want just randoms. You want people who are in love with the project to be doing that and maintaining it as a vibratile asset. So for me, it's actually a bullish thing. You might take it as a negative thing. So because I've spoken to them, because I've assessed their character, I've felt their heart, and I'm like, I vibe with these guys and girls. I really like all of them. I haven't felt even a single shred of discomfort with any of them. So yeah, a little bit of XUSD alpha there. So again, just make sure that you have a good read of this. I have done a talk with Surfacing. I would definitely recommend going and listening to that talk with Surfacing. I also did one with Anders from the team. So strongly recommend just having a good, at least a very good read of this particular phase where we are now, so you know what you're getting into and you might be able to, how you might be able to capitalize on it. So